it seems like there is some very interesting news that came out with a former juror that is actually going to be representing Karen Read. I've never seen anything like this before. Let's see what Court TV has to say about it.
But we want to start the hour with developing news from the Karen Read case. Multiple agencies reporting, and we have actually located the docket too as well. They have added a new attorney, it appears, on the Karen Read defense team. And what is fascinating about this new attorney was a member of the jury in Karen Read 1. She ended up being an alternate in this case, but can you imagine? She was a licensed attorney, licensed in Massachusetts. She sat through the entire Karen Read case. She has made public statements to WBZ and others saying that she was disgusted by the Commonwealth during the case. Ends up being an alternate, and now they brought her onto the team, apparently, and talk about a move that could really yield dividends. I mean, you're talking about a person that knows the case from a juror standpoint and also an attorney's.
Yes, the knowledge that...
And this seems like it's going to be a huge benefit to the defense here, not only because it's an attorney, obviously, but because this attorney got to hear how the jury was receiving the information, got to be there for deliberations, got to hear how people were thinking, the back and forth, the issues they had. I mean, her contribution to this defense team is going to be invaluable, because it's safe to assume when you get another pool of jurors, one, not only are they going to see all the information that's been put out there while we were waiting for Karen Read to get back on trial, but she's going to have a better insight into the mindset of those jurors there as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward there.
That she would bring to the defense team is humongous. She would have a lot to say, a lot to offer. Now, when you take a look at...
Yeah, and someone in the chat is asking, is that legal? Yes, it would. It's not a conflict of interest. It would be a conflict of interest if it were the other way around. If it had been one of her attorneys that had obviously then got selected to be on the jury, then that would be an issue. But now that you have a former juror on a trial that was over, going in to help her on the next trial, no issue there. I've never heard of this before. It's insane.
Look at this, and it seems that from the reports that she has been added, there are some questions in regard to this. A lot of law review journals have been written about this. What are ethical considerations when a former juror, I should say, goes and joins a defense team? Could they sit on that jury and maybe say, we want a mistrial, we want a hung jury, and then eventually they join the defense team and they get paid? So I don't know what her compensation would be if she is getting compensation for joining the defense team. She is a practicing attorney, so I would assume she is getting paid. But it's a really interesting and big development because of the knowledge that she would bring to the defense team.
And she has been very outspoken. She has been speaking with WBZ among others, and basically saying that she distrusts this prosecution, the Commonwealth's prosecution of Karen Read, and she was part of that panel, but she was bounced. She was an alternate. So she didn't deliberate with the rest of the panel. Jeffrey Wolf is watching along with us. He's a criminal defense attorney in Denver, Colorado. Jeffrey, what do you make of this? That this ex-juror sounds like she's going to be joining the Karen Read defense team for Karen Read 2.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like I may be having some difficulties here with my video, but this is an incredibly unique perspective that this defense team is going to be able to get from this juror, because this who, even though she was an alternate and wasn't in the deliberations, she is someone who was privy to how the jurors were thinking about the case throughout the case. Because as much as judges tell jurors, don't discuss the case during the case, I think we all know that they do. I don't think that we are able to assume that they are never talking about the case throughout the pendency of the case. And so this person is somebody who knows what the jurors thought of the evidence the first time around, who knows inside and out, like you said, the case itself, because she's already sat through the evidence. And I don't think that there's necessarily an ethical consideration as to what she may have done to affect the first trial's outcome, because she wasn't in deliberations to cause the mistrial with the hung jury. She didn't sit in that deliberation room and cause a mistrial through a hung jury, because she wasn't in there. As an alternate juror, you don't sit in and basically make it so that a verdict doesn't come out of that room. She just wouldn't have been in there. And so this is a very, very unique perspective that this defense team is now going to have. And I think it's incredibly invaluable, because any defense attorney and any prosecutor that has talked to a jury after a trial will tell you that jurors very often are fixated on parts of the case that the trial lawyers never thought they would fixate on. And so now they have someone on their side who is going to tell them which pieces of this case the jurors were fixated on.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing new for attorneys to go and hire former jurors as consultants in their case.
Now, I did not know this. That is wild. So attorneys are out here paying jurors for their opinion on what happened during proceedings. Interesting. I will say, oh man, when I served on the grand jury here in Fulton County, I served on the grand jury for 3 months, and it was a great experience. I learned so much about the legal system and the judicial system here in Fulton County, and heard so many crazy cases. I will say we did have an attorney in our group, and that was the biggest headache in the world, because obviously it was hard for this attorney to get out of the mindset that he was trying this case. And he had to be told over and over and over and over by the assistant district attorney that was going through the grand jury with us. He had to be told, listen, you're not trying this case. You have to look at it from this perspective. And I'm honestly surprised they didn't replace him with an alternate, because this guy was a nightmare. So I can imagine being an attorney as a juror would be tough, but it's interesting to see how it plays out on the other end now with her having this experience.
Particular case, she actually is an attorney, so she's going to pick up on things, or would have picked up on things throughout the trial that a non-attorney would not have necessarily picked up on. But it is fascinating to hear about this and how this will impact their defense going forward, don't you think?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Because not only, like you said, is it common that you may talk to the jury afterwards, you may consult with them afterwards, but now this person has the dual base of knowledge of having sat through it as a juror, but sat through it as a juror who was thinking about it like a lawyer. Yeah. That is very rare. It's in a criminal trial, to have a lawyer left on the jury is rare. You are often going to see prosecutors and defense attorneys do everything they can to keep lawyers off the jury so that they don't have that extra perspective of the lawyer sitting in there. You know, you're going to hear, prosecutors say they don't want defense attorneys on their juries, and you're going to hear defense attorneys say,
oh, they lost him.
Yep. Lost Jeffrey there, but making the point that, lawyers don't like other lawyers on a jury panel for a lot of reasons, mainly because you don't want some person over there rolling their eyes and thinking I had have done this better, and then they end up.
It's tough, man.
Well, there's just a fear that they're going to end up using the performance of the lawyers over possibly the facts of the case. But she was on the panel, and in this statement to WBZ after one of the pre-trial motion hearings in Carrie 2, she said, I came in with an open mind, and that as it progressed, she became more and more sort of underwhelmed by the Commonwealth.
Another reason why you wouldn't necessarily want an attorney on the panel is because other people might defer to that attorney.
Yes,
be swayed more
right,
by their opinion. And you're like, well, we don't necessarily want that person
running the show.
The show. So,
good point. But it's a fascinating.
That is a great point. And shout out to Court TV for this great reporting. I agree. It'll be interesting to see, for those of you who have watched the previous Karen Read trial, how the defense's strategy changes from the past going into now. I would love to hear that from y'all who observed and watched the first trial. Obviously, a lot of us are coming into this trial with new eyes. So I'm going to take it for what it is. I don't really want to get my thought process or my opinion tainted by the previous trial. So we're going to take it on this case by case basis. But let me know what y'all think this is going to do moving forward and how it's going to affect the defense's strategy too.